had 6, and it was the ticky-tack fouls. And again, Caitlin Clark doing a little bit of an acting job. Not sure if that was actually a foul, but again, that's for the ticky-tack fouls that we were talking about.
Fouled out again. But this time, it's not just on the court. The WNBA just dropped a bombshell that's shaking women's basketball to its core: mandatory gender testing for all players. And guess who's right in the crosshairs? Brittney Griner.
Brittney Griner is, in fact, a man. One of the videos that give us cause to say that is this video. It is from her Instagram stories from years and years ago. And when it comes to Instagram, they use a combination of like AI detection and plus manual surveyors to make sure that no explicit content ends up on the platform. So clearly whatever AI detection system was used when Brittney posted this and it stayed up for 106 weeks was not like, oh, this is a female chest, we have to take this down. Oftentimes, if breast cancer runs in a family, women will preemptively get like double mastectomies. There are some great surgeons out there, don't get me wrong, but I don't see any scars on Brittney's chest that would be indicative of a double mastectomy or top surgery for gender transition.
For years, whispers followed Brittney Griner. Rumors, online videos, and AI-generated claims. But when the WNBA announced its new gender policy, just days after Griner was caught using a derogatory term against Caitlin Clark, many fans said, it's about time.
To get into that is really hard and really scary. You're about to be a mom. How is that feeling? Pops. Oh, let me get it together. About to be a pops. Please tell me how exciting that is for you and what you're looking forward to most.
I'm super excited. Look like a pops.
Sound like pops.
So he's here. Yes.
Like Granddad.
Brittney Griner isn't new to headlines. From her 2015 domestic violence arrest, to her 2022 detainment in Russia, to public spats with fellow players, the WNBA star's name has been synonymous with controversy.
It was like a lady.
Caitlin Clark isn't just a rookie. She's a phenomenon. Her arrival brought millions of new eyes to the WNBA. But with that attention came resentment, and Griner may have felt the heat most. So, what does the WNBA's new policy actually do? According to league insiders, all players must now undergo hormonal and chromosomal testing before every season. Independent experts will verify if athletes meet the biological female requirement. If the league thought this announcement would settle things, they were wrong. Twitter, YouTube, and TikTok are flooded with conspiracy theories, support for Clark, and some very pointed questions about Griner. Several LGBTQ+ organizations are already threatening lawsuits against the league, calling the policy discriminatory. But the WNBA says they're standing firm for now. For Brittney Griner, this may be more than a policy shift. If the test results don't align with WNBA standards, it could mean the end of her career. Her championships, her stats, her legacy, all could be questioned. Many WNBA players have stayed quiet for now. But in private, sources say some feel betrayed. If a teammate gained an unfair edge, what does that say about the league's credibility? This policy isn't just about the WNBA. International leagues are watching. The Olympics are watching. The NCAA is watching. What happens with Griner could change everything. The WNBA says this is about fairness. Critics say it's about exclusion. Brittney Griner says nothing for now. But as the test results loom, the question remains. The WNBA just crossed a line no one thought they'd dare approach. Mandatory gender testing. A move that stunned the sports world, and all eyes are now on Brittney Griner. As controversy explodes across social media, one question echoes louder than any other. Is this really about fairness, or something far more personal? Caitlin Clark entered the WNBA like a storm, shattering attendance records, dominating headlines, and becoming the league's top-selling jersey overnight. But as Clark's fame soared, so did the whispers of discontent, and not from fans. After months of silent boardroom discussions and increasing pressure from fans, the WNBA has confirmed it will introduce a mandatory gender eligibility policy starting with this season. It's the first time in history such a rule will affect active players, and insiders say it was sparked by private complaints from league executives and sponsors. For over a decade, Brittney Griner has dominated women's basketball. But from the beginning, rumors swirled around her height, voice, and physique. Opponents made snide remarks. Fans speculated. And now, those rumors return with a vengeance. The tipping point came during a heated game earlier this season. Griner appeared to elbow Caitlin Clark after a foul. Replay footage exploded online, and within hours, #ProtectCaitlin was trending nationwide. According to WNBA insiders, testing will begin within weeks. Players will be reviewed by independent medical boards. Any athlete found to be in violation of eligibility rules could be suspended or worse. Critics argue this policy is a smokescreen, crafted to protect Caitlin Clark's meteoric rise by eliminating players seen as too dominant or too masculine. The comparisons to Lia Thomas and trans athletes in swimming are impossible to ignore. Critics argue this policy is a smokescreen, crafted to protect Caitlin Clark's meteoric rise by eliminating players seen as too dominant or too masculine. The comparisons to Lia Thomas and trans athletes in swimming are impossible to ignore. For Brittney Griner, this may be the most personal test of her entire career. For Caitlin Clark, it's a storm she never asked for. But for the WNBA, this is the line in the sand. Will science prevail? Or will public opinion tear the league in two? In a decision that has sent ripples across the global sporting community, the WNBA has announced the implementation of mandatory gender verification testing, sparking one of the most polarizing and high-stakes controversies in modern sports history. At the epicenter of this explosive development stands none other than Brittney Griner, a towering figure not only in physical stature, but in the symbolic weight she carries within women's basketball. And as the league grapples with this unprecedented move, the shadows of rivalry, resentment, and redemption loom large, particularly in the wake of Caitlin Clark's meteoric rise to stardom. For years, the WNBA has danced along the fault lines of identity politics, athletic integrity, and corporate pressure. The league has long marketed itself as an inclusive, progressive, and socially conscious body, championing causes ranging from racial justice to LGBTQ+ rights. But the current firestorm threatens to unravel that carefully curated image. What began as an effort to ensure competitive fairness and biological legitimacy in women's sports has morphed into a full-scale cultural and political war, drawing in media analysts, politicians, scientists, fans, and, of course, the players themselves. This isn't just a policy change, it's a reckoning. To understand the depth of this moment, one must look beyond the headlines and trace the historical trajectory of both the individuals involved and the institution that now finds itself under intense scrutiny. Brittney Griner, the 6'9" phenom, has been the face of women's basketball since her college days at Baylor University, where she dominated on both ends of the court and redefined what it meant to be a post player. Her power, agility, and skill set were unrivaled, but so too were the whispers, insidious murmurs questioning her femininity, her identity, even her legitimacy. Over time, those whispers evolved into coded language, online trolling, and finally, institutional suspicion. Fast forward to 2024, and the stakes have never been higher. Griner's 2022 detention in Russia, on drug charges widely seen as politically motivated, cemented her as both a symbol of American vulnerability and strength. Her return was lauded as a diplomatic victory, and the WNBA's support was unrelenting. But even as the league rallied behind her publicly, discontent simmered beneath the surface. Critics questioned the league's priorities. Was it prioritizing activism over athletics? Were certain players being protected because of their influence? And what, precisely, constituted fairness in an increasingly complex gender landscape? Enter Caitlin Clark, a shooting savant whose arrival into the league was nothing short of a media earthquake. Her precise three-point stroke, calm demeanor, and Midwestern humility captivated a nation desperate for a new hero in women's sports. ESPN couldn't get enough of her. Nike inked one of the largest rookie deals in league history. Sold-out arenas, skyrocketing ratings, and record-breaking jersey sales followed. But as her influence rose, so too did tensions. Older players, once untouchable, found themselves outshined, outpaced, and, perhaps most painfully, outloved by the media machine now obsessively orbiting Clark. Among those players, Brittney Griner. The rivalry between Griner and Clark never manifested in open hostility, at least not at first. But subtle barbs in interviews, visible body language on court, and cryptic social media posts hinted at growing animosity. The turning point, many say, was a physical altercation during a nationally televised game where Griner appeared to elbow Clark after a contested rebound. While the foul was not deemed flagrant, the optics were damning. Clark's fall, the grimace on her face, the thunderous booing from fans, and the viral hashtags, #ProtectCaitlin and #GrinerGate, soon overtook every trending list online. It was in the aftermath of that moment that the WNBA made its most controversial decision yet, the introduction of mandatory gender testing. The league framed it as a policy long overdue, one that ensures the sanctity of competition and reflects international sporting standards. Yet the timing left many questioning the motive. Was this truly about fairness, or was it a targeted effort to isolate and expose specific athletes, namely Griner, whose identities have long been the subject of public debate? The policy itself is scientifically robust and legally complex. It involves an independent review panel of endocrinologists, geneticists, and sports medicine professionals who assess hormone levels, chromosomal configurations, and other biological markers. It is not, as critics fear, a public shaming tool. Results will remain confidential unless an athlete fails to meet eligibility thresholds. But the damage to reputation occurs long before test results are released. The court of public opinion, especially in the digital age, delivers its verdict instantly and often irrevocably. Supporters of the policy argue that it levels the playing field. "We're not targeting anyone," said one anonymous league executive in an interview. "We're simply ensuring that women's sports remain women's sports." They cite instances from other sports, including the Olympic ban on South African runner Caster Semenya and the Swimming Federation's restriction of trans athletes in elite female categories. It's not about hate. It's about biology, they claim. It's about integrity. But opponents see something far more sinister. They view the policy as a veiled attempt to weaponize science against marginalized identities. Human rights organizations have issued scathing critiques, calling it discriminatory and degrading. LGBTQ+ advocacy groups are mobilizing. Athletes across disciplines are speaking out. And all the while, Griner remains silent, an absence that only fuels speculation further. Is she protesting in private? Preparing legal action? Or has the emotional toll of years of gender-based scrutiny finally broken her? Clark, meanwhile, continues to perform, but even she is not immune to the backlash. Critics accuse her of being the unwitting beneficiary of a system willing to sacrifice others to preserve her image. She has refused to comment directly on the gender testing issue, deferring instead to league policy. Yet her silence, much like Griner's, speaks volumes. As one columnist put it, Caitlin Clark didn't start this war, but she may well be its most protected soldier. Beyond the individuals, this moment forces a reckoning for women's sports at large. The WNBA's decision may set a precedent that ripples through the NCAA, international federations, and even high school athletics. It reignites the debate over trans inclusion, biological advantages, and the very definition of gender. Can fairness and inclusion coexist in competitive sports? Or must one inevitably yield to the other? No one seems to have a clear answer, and that uncertainty is precisely what makes this issue so incendiary. This moment is not just about a policy. It is not even just about a player. It is about the existential identity of women's athletics in the 21st century. What defines a woman in sport? Who gets to decide? And can a league survive the answer it chooses? The world is watching. The tests are coming. And when the results are in nothing may ever be the same again,